Welcome back, tribe. Imagine playing a game where everyone denies the real rules while keeping score behind your back. That's modern masculinity in a nutshell. The simple path that once defined being a man, work hard, protect, provide, lead, that's all been replaced by a maze where the exit keeps moving. You're walking through a minefield where the rules change daily and every step might blow up in your face. Modern masculinity comes with a price tag that most men don't see until they're already paying for it. Society's sending you a bill for traits it both celebrates and condemns. And buddy, believe me, that bill is getting steeper by the day. The most expensive contradiction in all this is be ambitious but not too successful. Chase that promotion, build that business, crush those goals. But the moment your ambition actually pays off, you're branded as privileged or part of the problem. Climb the ladder, for example, but apologize for reaching each rung. Create wealth, but feel perpetually guilty for having it. The same society demanding you provide security will shame you for the very success that creates it. Your ambition is toxic until someone needs your resources. Then it's your obligation. You're told to be strong, resilient, and protective until those qualities actually show up. Stand up for yourself, you're aggressive. Set firm boundaries, you're controlling. Show real anger at mistreatment, now you are labeled dangerous. The strength society demands, in theory, becomes a problem the moment you display it in practice. Consider construction bosses who face this daily. When projects go smoothly, clients will praise their strong leadership and take charge attitude. But when a difficult client changes plans mid-job, causing delays and higher costs, the same strength becomes intimidating and unreasonable. Same qualities, different reaction. The only change, whether that strength is convenient or not. What's even more twisted is how these clashing demands follow you everywhere. At work, you're told take initiative, but not to overstep. Be firm in negotiations, but don't seem aggressive. Be confident without seeming arrogant. The line between these paired qualities shifts based on who's judging you and what they need from you at that moment. The emotional rules are even more fucked. Be vulnerable, they say. Open up. Share your feelings, but only the right ones at the right time in the right amount. Show too little emotion and you're cold. Show too much and you're unstable or weak. That sweet spot of appropriate male emotion moves every time you think you found it. Ever notice how fast I need a man who can be vulnerable transforms into I need you to handle this because I can't deal right now? Your request for your emotions evaporates the moment someone actually needs your strength. What they call toxic masculinity is just traditional male traits that have become annoying to acknowledge as useful. Staying calm under pressure, bouncing back from setbacks, being physically strong, protective of others. Those aren't bugs in the male operating system. They're features that have kept humanity alive through the worst conditions imaginable. But now they're being treated like outdated code that needs updating. A man's value has always been tied to performance and competence. That's not changing anytime soon. What's changed is society's willingness to admit it. They'll tell you that you're valued for who you are, not for what you do or provide, right up until the moment they need you to do something or provide something. Then the truth will slip out. Modern dating reveals this contradiction most clearly. Women say they want sensitive, emotional, available men who embrace more fluid form of masculinity. Their actual choices, they consistently select the traditionally masculine traits: confidence, competence, status, resources, strength. Not always, but so consistently that pretending otherwise is simply denying reality. And dating apps made this clash impossible to ignore. Swipe through Tinder or Bumble and check which male profiles get the most action. It's not the guys leading with their feelings or talking about fighting the patriarchy. It's the ones showing classic male markers: height, fitness, financial success, and the confidence that borders on cockiness. Women might publicly reject these preferences, but their private choices tell a different story. The guys who win at dating aren't generally the ones who've most fully rejected classic masculinity. They're the ones who kept enough classic male traits to create attraction while adding enough of the emotional smarts to keep the connection going. They understand the game beneath the game, that what people say they want and what actually moves them often are different things. And this isn't about blaming women for being two-faced. Men do the same exact thing in different contexts, okay? It's about seeing that attraction works at a deeper level than our conscious beliefs. Our bodies and instincts often want different things than our social identities, and pretending otherwise creates confusion for everyone. It's not about what people say they want, it's about what they respond to. And humans, regardless of gender, respond to competence, confidence, and capability in men, period. They might complain about these traits abstractly while simultaneously seeking them in their actual partners and leaders. The physical demands are equally contradictory. The same culture criticizing unrealistic body standards for women plasters the image of shredded males and physiques across media without a second thought. Dad bods get a brief moment of celebration before the next Marvel superhero sets an impossible standard of male physical development. You're told looks don't matter for men while every visual signal screams otherwise. Have you noticed how every single leading man in Hollywood has gotten ripped for a role? Chris Pratt, Paul Rudd, just some examples. Guys who once had normal bodies now need to build physiques that require full-time training, personal coaches, strict diets, and often chemical help. They won't tell you that though. Yet we pretend this is just getting in shape rather than chasing an ideal as out of reach as any beauty standard for women. The fitness industry profits from this clash. They sell you protein powders and workout plans with images of men whose bodies are mostly due to genetics and often boosted by drugs. They'll promote the natural bodybuilding while featuring models whose development is anything but natural. The average guy will spend years in the gym and still feels like a failure because he's chasing a fake image without the same genetic luck or chemical help. Try an experiment. Create a dating profile with an average-looking guy who lists a middle-class job. Then create one with the same personality traits, but a physique that takes 5 years to build and a high-status career. The results will tell you everything about the gap between what we say we value and what we actually select for. At work, you're expected to lead without seeming bossy, to take charge without seeming dominant, to own results without claiming credit. You need to be hungry enough to climb the ladder, but humble enough that nobody resents your climb. Another moving target that shifts based on who's watching. Big companies have turned this clash into an art form. They want men with leadership qualities who don't actually lead too firmly. You'll see competent men passed over for promotions because they're too direct or too intense, only to see their replacements criticized months later for being wishy-washy or lacking presence. The modern workplace demands male drive while acting like it's a problem. Work 80-hour weeks to get ahead, but don't mention the sacrifice. That would be promoting toxic hustle culture. Be ruthlessly good at getting results, but never seem too driven or competitive. Have rock-solid confidence in tough situations, but stay humble to the point of putting yourself down in daily chats. Tech companies are the worst for this. They'll push psychological safety and vulnerable leadership in their culture decks, while their actual promotion decisions reward the same classic male traits that they publicly criticize: assertiveness, technical dominance, unwavering confidence, and relentless drive. The men who succeed in these places aren't the ones who fully buy into the stated values. They're the ones who spot the unstated expectations and show classic male qualities when it helps them. What nobody tells you is that these clashing demands create a constant state of social debt. No matter what you do, you're always somehow falling short against unwritten rules that change faster than you can adapt. You're playing a game where they only tell you the rules after you've broken them. The mental toll is fucking exhausting. Men walk around with their emotional check engine lights permanently on, wondering why they feel so off balance all the time. The stress trying to navigate these mixed messages doesn't show up in mental health stats because most guys don't report it. They just push through, self-medicate, or shut down. This isn't just annoying, it's driving men to despair. This isn't about being mad at women or society. It's just about seeing the game board you're actually playing on instead of the one that people claim exists. It's knowing that the map doesn't match the territory. The men who handle this well aren't the ones who blindly accept every new social rule about how masculinity should look. They're the ones who know that actions speak louder than words. Watch what people respond to rather than what they claim they want. The truth? There are parts of classic masculinity that remain valuable no matter how unfashionable they've become. Bouncing back from setbacks, staying emotionally steady, being good at things, being able to protect, the willingness to stand firm when needed. These aren't toxic traits. They're vital ones that create safety and security for everyone around a man. The smartest approach isn't rejecting all traditional masculinity or clinging to it dramatically. It's developing the discernment to know which aspects of masculinity actually serve you and those you care about regardless of current social fashion. Some guys try to solve this by becoming completely pliable, bending whichever way the cultural winds blow. But that strategy creates men nobody respects, including themselves. People may claim to want endlessly adaptable men, but they consistently gravitate towards those with a solid core of unchanging principles. Other men swing to the opposite extreme, adopting a caricature of hyper-masculinity that's equally ineffective. Rigidity isn't strength, it's fragility masquerading as toughness. The men who thrive understand that true masculinity isn't defined by neither extreme. It's defined by making intentional choices based on your own values rather than reactive ones based on external pressure. The highest cost contradiction of modern masculinity is being told to take up less space while simultaneously being expected to provide more support. Make yourself smaller, quieter, less visible, but also be the foundation everyone can rely on when things get tough. Be everything to everyone while making it look effortless and expecting nothing in return. This isn't sustainable. Men who try to contort themselves into this impossible position end up depleted, resentful, and ineffective. They burn out trying to reconcile the irreconcilable demands. And the solution isn't found in some perfect balance of contradictory expectations. It's found in the courage to define masculinity on your own terms, to develop your own internal compass that guides your actions regardless of the shifting social tides. And the men who navigate modern masculinity most successfully are the ones who neither reject the traditional masculine virtues nor cling to them dogmatically. They incorporate the aspects of masculinity that create genuine value, like strength, courage, mastery, and honor, while discarding the bullshit that doesn't serve anyone. They understand that true strength includes knowing when to be vulnerable, that genuine courage often means walking away from fights rather than engaging in them, starting problems for everybody. That real mastery requires constant learning rather than assuming you already know everything. And that authentic honor comes from treating others with respect regardless of what you might gain from them. Those men don't wear their masculinity like armor or a performance. They embody it as a natural expression of who they are and what they value. And they don't react to every new social dictate about how men should behave. They respond based on their own carefully considered principles. The highest form of masculinity isn't found in complying with contradictory external demands from society. It's found in developing the internal clarity to know who you are and what you stand for, what you'll die for, and the courage to live by these convictions even when they're unpopular. Look at how society treats men who chase external validation versus those who operate from internal principles. The validation seekers are constantly adjusting their behavior to match whatever the current social dictate happens to be. One week, they're performatively sensitive. The next, they're loudly championing whatever cause is trending, like black squares on Instagram. They're exhausted, inauthentic, and despite their efforts, rarely respected. Compare them to men who develop their own code. These guys aren't immune to criticism, but it doesn't control them either. They've thought deeply about what kind of man they want to be and what values they stand for, and you don't waver on them with every shift in the cultural winds, period. They listen, they adapt when it makes sense, but their core remains solid. That quality is magnetic. People are drawn to it even if they can't articulate why. The reality nobody wants to admit, most people don't respect men who constantly shapeshift to meet external expectations. They might say they do. They might even think they do, but their actions tell a different story. Humans are wired to trust consistency and clarity. We instinctively doubt those who seem to have no solid center. That kind of self-defined masculinity doesn't come cheap. It costs you the comfort of easy social approval, and it costs you the safety of following the crowd. It'll cost you the simplicity of black and white thinking. It requires the courage to stand alone when necessary, to face criticism without becoming defensive or bitter. You'll pay this price daily. In small moments when you choose authenticity over approval, in larger ones where you hold an unpopular line because your principles demand it. You'll weather accusations of being problematic or out of touch when you refuse to abandon the values you carefully considered and chosen to uphold. But what this investment gives you in return is worth every single penny. Authentic self-respect that isn't dependent on external validation, relationships that are based on genuine connection rather than performance, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you stand for. The modern masculine tax is steep. Society's contradictory expectations create a bill most men can't possibly pay. And trying to satisfy everyone's conflicting demands is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole at the bottom, man. An ever-exhausting, never-ending drain on your resources and dignity. The men who thrive aren't paying that impossible tax. They're making a different investment in their own integrity, in developing the discernment to separate wisdom from trends, in building the inner strength to stand firm when it matters and adapt when it serves. This isn't some abstract philosophical position. It's practical as hell. When you operate from internal clarity rather than external pressure, you make better decisions. You'll form stronger relationships. You build a life that actually works instead of one that just looks good on paper. And you'll spend your limited time and energy on what genuinely matters rather than chasing moving targets you can never hit. The bill for modern masculinity is high, but the men who pay it on their own terms rather than society's will find it an investment that pays dividends for a lifetime. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. As usual, appreciate everybody that tunes in. Thank you to everybody that subscribed to the private community, as well as everybody that's been doing the private consult. It's been a blessing to talk to you guys. And like always, we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.